Welcome back. This is Chuck Todd's first morning as moderator of Meet the Press, the longest-running Sunday morning political program on TV. And he is feeling the pressure. Meet the Press used to be untouchable. But after Tim Russert died and David Gregory took over, the show fell from first place in the ratings to third place. Now Gregory's out and Todd's in, so what's he going to do? Todd is the ultimate political insider, but he says political journalists have failed the public, and he hopes to fix that. Over at NBC's bureau here in D.C., we had a really frank conversation about that. So check this out. It's Chuck Todd meeting the press. There's this perception that Meet the Press is broken, and I don't know if I agree with it, but do you? Is it broken?
No, I don't agree that it's broken. I think there is. I look at this challenge as different from what some, I think, media critics see it as. I look at it as, I think political journalism is going through the same issues that Washington politicians are going through. I think the public, their frustration with Washington, they've lumped us in the media as part of that frustration, that we don't get it. Though in the same way that Washington politicians don't seem to get what's going on in the rest of America, I think they think the media is doing that. So I think symbolism-wise, the political journalists are front and center of the they don't get it. So I think what's quote-unquote broken is the credibility of us in the media channeling the frustrations of Americans.
Is that a fair critique on the part of
100%.
ordinary viewers at home?
Yes, I do think it is, and this is something I always like to use the phrase a sell a corridor, that I think sometimes the New York-Washington take on things seems to ignore what's going on in the rest of America. It's that disconnect that leads to the perception that, you know, this show's broken or that show's broken or whatever. It's really about this lack of credibility. That did the political reporters really understand the Great Recession?
I had the journalism professor Jay Rosen on Reliable Sources a few weeks ago, and he said that maybe people like you should come on and say we're part of the problem and we're going to address it that way. Sounds like you're somewhat agreeing with that idea.
I certainly think when it comes to the economy and comes to the recession, we generally didn't we have not understood the depth of the problem.
Is this the insider versus outsider issue that journalists in Washington are too close to their sources?
I don't think it's that. I think it's, you know, we got to get out. Look, we are in a bubble in Washington. We are in a bubble in New York. So we got to work harder at that. And when Meet the Press, when all political journalism is at its best, it's when it's channeling the American frustrations back through and translating that to Washington power players.
Is part of this about the guests you decide to book? Because there's been so many criticisms of the same old predictable guests on programs like Meet the Press.
Look, I think it is. I think booking is harder today than it ever was because the newsmakers themselves have so many choices that they can decide. I don't want to have a tough interview. I'm just going to go over here who somebody is going to cheerlead my point of view.
Or they can just tweet their statement out.
Absolutely. So, you know, you hope that you elevate the program over time where people feel like, boy, they kind of have to go. It would be kind of embarrassing if they don't.
How important are newsmaker interviews then nowadays? I mean, you have President Obama for your first program, but is that still the heart of Meet the Press in the future?
I think it should be, because I think the last thing here we are in the cable landscape, the 5-minute interviews don't give you the depth that people say they want. I mean, I've gotten a lot of advice, some solicited, some unsolicited, as you might imagine. All of those has been universal, going, hey, I would like just sort of a longer interview. I'd like to learn more. Lack of time pressure. So I think that you still want to have that out there. People say, look, what are some of the still more popular, the news programs that you're seeing growing in audience are the ones that sort of take a step back these days, right? It's some of these weekly shows.
And yet the stereotype is the TV viewers will turn the channel if something goes on too long. TV executives always want to move faster.
I understand that, and I think that that's but I like to think if you're doing a compelling interview, you shouldn't want to do that. And you want to have a little more depth. You want to have a little bit longer. I think Sunday morning is different. I think people sit back.
You mentioned Russert, and I want to ask you what you have learned over the years from watching his interviews. This is a clip from the first interview of Vice President Cheney after the 9/11 attacks. It was at Camp David, and I was struck watching it recently about how Russert zeroed in on so many topics that were still relevant a decade later. Here's a clip from it.
You're convinced he's still in Afghanistan?
We don't know.
Is there any international law or United States law which would prohibit us from killing him if we found him?
Not in my estimation, Tim.
I mean, Russert goes right to the question that was answered a decade later with the killing of bin Laden. What are the lessons from Russert's time on Meet the Press?
The number one lesson is preparation. I mean, and I watched it firsthand. He was preparing for interviews he hadn't yet booked a month, 2 months in advance. And I think the other thing was, you know, he always had this saying that's very true that he used to say that he borrowed from Lawrence Spivak, which was simply learn everything you can about your guest's point of view and take the opposite tack sometime.
It's one thing to play devil's advocate. I wonder if it's another, and I wonder if you think it's appropriate for a host of Meet the Press to express a point of view, to show where they're coming from.
Look, I think my title's moderator. I do think I should moderate that. I think part of my job is to broaden the amount of people I have. If the people that are invested in a policy outcome, I want to see both of those sides on there. See if you can have a respectful way to do it.
Some of the viewers at home think that neutrality is the problem with journalism.
No, I know. Look, there's no balance. There's no such thing as balancing the truth. Okay, it's fairness. Period. Okay, and I know this whole thing of neutrality. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm invested in which party wins. I'm not invested in which party wins. I'm invested in who's governing right, who's not offending the founders of the democracy.
What do you say to people who say you're coming over from MSNBC, which is a liberal cable news channel, so you must be tainted?
Well, I would say just look at my work. I mean, I think the guilt by association crowd, which there is a lot of people that are invested in building their own internet profiles and internet sites and traffic and all that stuff, and it's like a form of a campaign, right? Trying to get into the whole media bias game. I would just say, look at my work. I'd say, look at what I did on the Daily Rundown. Look at the diversity of guests I had ideologically, geographically, or ethnically.
And what would you say to people who say that NBC treated David Gregory so poorly on his way out from Meet the Press?
I don't know everything that happened. I was more out of the loop than I think some people would like to believe. I know I've learned in my 7 years now in the television business, this is hard. This is a tough business.
When I asked for comments on Twitter for this, someone asked if you're going to shave. What happens to the goatee?
I'm not going to shave, and I'll tell you, this is going to sound a little corny, but my late father his whole life had a beard. Now his was a full beard. Same exact color. When I grew a beard, same exact color. He died at 40. It's one of those things. I look in the mirror, I see my father. If I shave, I feel like I'm erasing a tiny bit of my dad. I ain't doing it. I'm going to have this beard probably until I'm laying in a coffin.